Welcome on into today's edition of PHLY Union Podcast. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, JP Zapata, joined as always with the lovely Renee Washington, and it's the show before Thanksgiving. That is right. We got some storylines to talk about. We got some MLS Cup playoffs. It's been absolutely bonkers. And of course, we'll end today's show with a very jolly theme. What are we thankful for with the Philadelphia Union? That should get some interesting answers. I want to hear your answers in the comment section. You start dropping what you're thankful for in the comment section. But Renee Washington, I'm a little upset with you.
Oh,
because
my full government name. Full government.
I know, it was a little much.
Yeah,
That was a little
what?
much. I'm not gonna lie to you. So for full disclosure, we're having our nice little PHLY Friendsgiving. It's awesome. Everybody's here. We have this wide spread of different great foods. Our executive producer, Jules, she got her fiance now. I got to get used to that. Her fiance, he whipped us up something. He's a chef, so he whipped us up something. Yeah. And so, I'm getting ready for the show. Renee's got herself a nice plate, and I'm over here drooling, looking at the plate. So I got a little beef. All right.
Because I decided I was smart and ate. Yeah, we had our Friendsgiving. I got beef
because you have a head and I don't. All right.
Yeah, and I was the first. Listen, by no surprise, I was the first one out of everyone in the office to go ahead and make a plate of food.
Yes, I brought. I
think I'm a leader. I'm a trendsetter. I'm not a rule. I don't follow the rules. I don't know why everybody was waiting.
You're a winner. You're a track star.
And as we were like sitting there longer and longer, and I knew our show was getting closer, and I had to eat something. And you brought the
That's right.
Those are empanadas.
Those are empanadas. So I got to give a big shout out to my dear friends over at Cafe Tinto on Wyoming. They do a really good job. My favorite empanadas in the city of Philadelphia. Make sure you guys check them out. I can't wait to dig into some of that.
They were very good, JP. They were very good. I enjoyed them. And I also enjoyed the pasta since you didn't eat anything. There you go.
Well, I'm glad Renee got to enjoy some of the food. As we got BC checking it. Renee, BC has got to be on fire right now. The Galaxy.
LA sports fans are the only ones that are like living in this. Minus, thank goodness we beat the Rams in football.
That's right.
Thank you, Eagles, for helping us out with that. And yeah, it took over for sure. SoFi is our home field. But also when you look at coming off of a Dodgers World Series title and LA Galaxy and my guy, John McCarthy.
Yeah.
Shout out to my former LaSalle teammate, John, because they are killing it. And actually, I know we're going to get into predictions. So BC, I know you're probably like my prediction. It's interesting times right now for sure, JP. And it's crazy because now as we're getting into the Final Four, it also means teams are in their true off season. Yeah. So we're seeing moves made, contracts made. We're seeing firings, hirings, chaos that's going on, rumors of new signings. So this is the time we're keeping a very close eye to what teams are doing. It's that immediate, you're frustrated you got knocked out of the playoffs or didn't make the playoffs, and now you're making a change in terms of your staff and your personnel to try to jump on, ahead of other teams in terms of the offseason acquisitions.
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. We're starting getting some news. Obviously, right now there's some firings. Keep in mind, of course, we could not record tomorrow, but tomorrow will be the deadline for the union to make some announcement with these rosters. So I'm very intrigued at what's going to happen. Well, let's start off with it, guys. Let's start off with some of the storylines around the league. And of course, we got to start out with our own backyard here. Philadelphia Union signed Marcelo. I'm totally kidding, guys. Bad joke. Bad joke. We don't get a Brazilian, but we did renew Olivier Mbaizo. He agrees to a new contract. This contract will be through 2026 with options for 27 and 28. He's back. Feels like he's now like the longest tenured union. We'll see what happens with Allie, but
I know
it feels like he's been here for like 10 plus years.
Well, it's interesting because I'm watching other teams make moves, and for the Union right now, they're essentially just re-signing some guys. We saw Quinn Sullivan's contract. We saw Jeremy Raffanello. Now it's Olivier Mbaizo. So I consider that like around the edges types of moves where you go ahead and lock in some guys you want to plan for the future before you start making some other moves. But I also don't love the fact that we're seeing so many of these signings happening. I'll be honest with you. Like the Phillies got knocked out of the NLDS over a month ago, and they still haven't had any of these contracts, signings, and extensions. And the Union in a couple of weeks have already had at least 3 guys. So I would rather you kind of wait. And I think on one side, the positive is for the Union, it does tell those guys, we're confident in you. We're going to build around you. You're here for the future. But I also don't mind if they were a little bit more aggressive in maybe waiting to see what's out there on the market. Maybe you want to include one of these guys in a trade. And now it just made things more complicated because you just extended their contract. So I think they're a little bit too eager and antsy to go ahead and lock in some of those players. Personally, it's a business. Why are you so quick to lock in and make those extensions happen? It's only been a couple weeks.
Well, Renee, when you're scouting in the 3rd division of Bulgaria or the 2nd division of Romania, it does take some time to find these players. I mean, like, it's fine. You know, Mbaizo at this point, he's a veteran player. You kind of know what you're getting with Mbaizo too. You know he's a liability in defense.
Sure.
Especially when you're playing against teams who like to play fast with some transition. He's always going to be a liability. But at this point, he's been a reliable backup for Nathan Harriel. And Mbaizo still provides some value with his attack. I mean, now we know his crosses are pretty deadly, and he can pinpoint a pass for sure. But just very interesting because, you know, the whole continuity thing, it always goes back to that, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the things that the Union will always, you know, they'll ride that horse to the end, all about continuity. But of course, we let go our coach, so it's just like, continuity for you sure about that?
It's contradictory for sure. But as you mentioned with Mbaizo, he does sign to a new contract through 2026 with options for 27 and 2028. Also, as you mentioned, he was signed back in 2018. He is one of those longer tenured Philadelphia Union players. There aren't many guys that we can say are from that pre-Supporter Shield era.
Yeah.
I guess we can call that like BSS. Before Supporter Shield.
I like that.
The BSS. So in that time, he was one of the guys that the Union were able to pick up. He was someone that actually played with the Union too, worked his way up to the pipelines, has kind of progressed, grinded, gotten better. And I know Ernst Tanner, all of your favorite person, Ernst Tanner, for all of you tuning in, said he's been a consistent contributor to the back line since joining us in 2018. And his speed, his agility, along with his increasingly accurate passing percentage continue to make him a valuable asset to the team. And we are happy to have come to an agreement. So they're coming to agreements with guys they want to lock in for the future. I know in the chat, Michael Wolfinger, and what's up, Michael? You mentioned also someone like Pierre. Nelson Pierre did get a contract as well.
We do need the confirmation from the team for that.
Yeah, like that hasn't officially been published, but did see the news coming out about it. I saw our friend Jill and Kyle, they were talking about it as well. So we have heard the murmurs. We didn't get the official press release from it, but it does seem they're doing kind of those like around the edges things in terms of moves. I definitely again, I don't know if it's me being greedy and me wanting just to see a lot from the Union in this offseason. I wouldn't mind any of these contracts. I just feel like they're so fast. Like, it's not even Thanksgiving yet. It's still very early. We don't even have the MLS Cup. Like, just wait a minute. Just pause, because while a player like Mbaizo, as Michael's saying, is a good sub and reserve, I don't know, maybe somebody wants to take a chance on him somewhere else. Like, this is not a big trade league in that sense, but just like hold on to some of these assets that you know what I mean? Like just pause a little bit.
One point about Mbaizo, because you know me, Renee, sometimes I get a little nosy, I get a hankering for some cheese man. So if you remember a little cheese man, if you remember Mbaizo, was it 2 years now? During the summer, he did request a transfer for valid reasons.
He did.
For valid reasons, right? His wife and kid could not come over here. The visa issue, we all know that's difficult. So what changed? What changed now that he does agree to the extension there? I'm very curious. You know, of course, again, the chismoso in me. I want to know what exactly happened.
I don't know. I guess maybe I don't know if they're here.
Hopefully it did work out.
I mean,
that's tough being away from your, I mean, I'm recently married.
And Mbaizo has family here. I actually had a chance to like meet his dad and some of his family. But I don't know if he has everybody here. I don't know what's changed. I don't know if it's maybe the price point. I don't know if they're in the works on the logistics in terms of paperwork and everything. I'm not quite sure. But I do know it does make sense to me that a guy like Mbaizo maybe at that time wasn't feeling great. He was kind of in between. He was a starter sometimes. Yeah, and maybe now he's really accepted his role as a reserve piece, a backup outside back. And now also from outside of the personal aspect, like professionally, maybe he feels more confident in being here for the future and just knowing his role. I think that sometimes is a challenge for players when you're kind of an in-betweener. You know, you don't know who you are, you don't know what you bring to the table. And I think Mbaizo now, as that everyday backup, And sub, I think, might also be leaning into that a little bit more and be comfortable of knowing I can plan for the future, that myself and my family can stay here in Chester.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's been 6 years now, like you mentioned. This is now essentially a home for him. So you can definitely imagine that. I want to give a big shout out to my dear friends over at 302 Birds, our Delaware Philly sports fans. Got to show some love to them in the chat there.
Love that.
BC Dry is making me a little depressed. The Galaxy have a chance to win the 20th title for Southern California this century. New England at 13 is the next closest. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder, BC.
Yeah, thanks for that great reminder that LA wins a lot of championships. We know, we are aware. It is crazy, and he's dropping all the title numbers in there, which is insane. There have been 122 titles this century for, as BC is sharing with us, across MLS, Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, and NHL. And so the LA is at the top.
They are definitely enjoying it for sure. Will brought up so I did put out some little discourse on Twitter today.
I love that.
He says, I do like how the Union have a strong academy, and I'm thankful for that, but I wish they would supplement that youth with better or bigger signings. The youth pipeline is important. So I did put out a tweet today. Because of all this news, I did get some DMs as well. Like, I love the fact that we have this youth academy. I love the fact that we are developing. But again, the youth has to be the foundation. You build the team with the youth, the base foundation, but then you have to supplement it with those signings. And we'll get to the playoffs in a little bit, Ray. But if you look around the league, if you look at what's going on in the playoffs right now, look at the names that are still available. You know, your Ricky Puig, right? Emil Forsberg. Why am I blanking on? Ojeda from Orlando. Like, there's so many star power right now, and maybe not household names around the world, but these are guys that are making differences. And that's what we're talking about: differences, difference makers.
Yep.
And that's all it is. But I do like that we have a really strong youth system there for sure.
Yeah, and I agree with that point. I mean, I think, as Will is mentioning, it's fantastic to see how they're building the youth, because you do need to have a balance of how you are developing your team. If your team is only built around bringing in veterans, bringing in outside roster pieces, they don't have that sense of what it takes to be on the Union. What is this community about? What is this team about? So bringing up guys to the pipeline, like an Olivier Mbaizo, that's been a Union 2 player, a homegrown player, that any of those types of guys that they bring through the works, they have a better, I feel like, pride of this is home, because this has been their home. But on the other side of it, that can't be it. In order to keep up with the rest of the league, you have to have a balance of the two. And I think I am okay with, when you hear, and going back to the press conference around Jim Curtin's firing, you hear from Jay Sugarman and Ernst Tanner about their excitement around the youth. And I get it, but that can't be it, because you do look around the league, and why and how are teams winning games, going deep in the playoffs? It's the teams that have the big name players that can step up. Who is your superstar? Who's going to be the one that makes a difference? Who's going to be the one to help you score 6 goals in the playoffs, or help you win a nail biter when you have a battle of 2 New York teams? You need those guys. And at the very least, if you don't have one of those, it's okay to have it by committee, but I still don't think the Union even have that. Like, their top players, you have like an Andre Blake, you have spurts, but you need a consistent veteran core, or a talented core, I should even say, that it could be 3, 4, 5 guys that are the ones you can rely on in these big moments. So I don't think the Union need to go out this offseason and pick up just one big, like when Inter Miami bought in like a Messi. Some of the names that we've seen even since then. I don't think they don't have to do that, but you have to bring in pieces that maybe amount to that. That's, can give you that same type of star pedigree that's going to help you win big games. Like, it's not going to be just your youngsters or, your rookies in general. It's going to take time for them to even get to a point in terms of confidence, in terms of development, in terms of talent, where they actually can help win you games. That's all.
You were spot on. And once we'll do the same thing we did last year. So once we find out the representatives of the MLS Cup, we'll dissect that exact point there. How far are the Union from getting to being a champion again? And obviously we want to be in an MLS Cup position again. We will get to all that, and we'll dive into some more storylines. We'll look into the MLS Cup playoffs as well. But first, we got to address some of our friends. We will get there, guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let's start off by talking about our friends over at Rite Aid because, ladies and gentlemen, holiday season is here, right? So this week, we're on Thursday, obviously, is a big day. It's Turkey Day. We're going to have family over, right? Family and friends that you probably haven't seen in a while. And when there's a big gathering, you know, that someone could bring in a virus of some sort. You don't want to have a cold or flu going into December, the final month. You want to end 2024 and on a strong note. Nobody wants to be sick, all right? So we want to make sure we stay ahead of it with our friends at Rite Aid because they are offering all the flu shots that we need here, including COVID vaccine, shingle, and RSV as well. It's very simple. All you got to do, ladies and gentlemen, is you got to head on over to RiteAid.com, all right? RiteAid.com, they make it super convenient for you. You could schedule your appointment for that vaccine. I mean, with this day and age, with the time, listen, we're moving quickly. You want to be able to have that feature. You want to be able to schedule that appointment ahead of time. So you can just walk in, get your shot, and boom, be on your merry way and go about your day. So, of course, you can always visit Rite Aid. They have the most caring pharmacists out there. They'll answer any question you have, give you some recommendations. That's one of my favorite parts as well. So head on over to RiteAid.com. Keep in mind that state, age, and health restrictions do apply. Like I said, ask your local Rite Aid pharmacist for more details. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's end 2024 in the right note. Do not get sick, all right? And thank you to our friends over at Rite Aid.
Yeah, don't get sick, and also make sure you're financially preparing for the future so that you can make sure to enjoy your beans, greens, tomatoes, potatoes, lamb, ram, hogs, malls, knowing that you are saving and being financially responsible. And you can do that with our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Let me tell you all about TrueMark Financial Credit Union. They've got better rates, lower fees, and they also have options for you such as their rewards points. They have their Savvy Money, which allows you to keep up to date with your credit score so that you can monitor your credit score. And they also have ways, including their mobile app, where you can stay up to date on your accounts, any transactions, pay bills, check your account at any moment. And in addition to you being more financially responsible, you can now pay it forward and help your children be financially responsible as well. Because if you've got kids or teens, TrueMark has the ultimate playbook for teaching financial responsibility with a free Greenlight account. You can sign up for the Greenlight app, which is changing the game. It's helping kids and teens learn how to earn, how to save, and spend wisely. They can set up their savings goals, they can track their spending, and they can even get an allowance, all right there on the Greenlight app. And the other cool part is kids get their own debit card. So they get a chance to swipe, tap, scan their card, and that confidence, that responsibility, that independence that you're teaching allows them to learn real-world skills. Plus, you, as their parent, can monitor it all from your phone, so you can help them manage and be kind of that coach for them to help them in the financial game. So with TrueMark Financial's Credit Union's members, all of this is free. Free opportunity to help your kids learn financial responsibility, get hands-on experience. And with the holidays here, guys, it is holiday season. It started November 1st, for the record. In the holiday season, it's the perfect time to gift your littles a chance to be financially responsible with the Greenlight app. So you can get signed up today. Visit TrueMark.com/Greenlight for more information.
That Greenlight app is great, but I'm sure also getting a job with the union front office can help as well with saving a little bit of money too.
I'm sure they'd be open to hiring some teens for the front office. They like to hire some teens for the team. So,
oh my God, JP, how are we doing?
Look at that guy in the corner. What's up, Frazier?
I'm late, but I'm here.
I love it, dude.
What's going on?
It's good to have you, man.
Andrew he ate. Everybody ate except for you, JP.
So if you guys hear rumblings, the building is fine. It's just my belly. Okay.
Yeah, I was just stuffing my face during the ad break there. Sorry
Andrew
about
literally had to take a moment to eat. But we're reunited for the first time in a few weeks since we've been all missing for vacation time and stuff. So reunited and it feels so good.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Love it. Well, perfect timing, Frazier, because the next storyline I want to talk about here is the breaking news. We get the boat
our
bomb.
own breaking news jingle.
I know, we do. We really do.
I can find something fun.
All right,
I just came up with that off the cuff.
I know. Renee's out here making sounds.
That's our PHLY jingle. It's the holidays. I'm extra giddy. I am fully a holiday nerd when it comes to all this stuff. So
we love that.
There it is.
So this just dropped right before the show. This was rumored this past weekend, but it is official. Inter Miami name the former Argentinian great, Barca great,
crazy,
and of course Frazier's Liverpool great, Javier Mascherano.
Ooh.
He will be the next head manager for Inter Miami FC. That was announced here today. He is 40 years old now. And of course,
Wow.
big pull for this job is, of course, his relationship with star player Lionel Messi. If you listen, I mean, it does make sense there. Now, the one thing that everyone has been saying and making fun of is that Inter Miami's hiring a manager has no managerial experience. Well, no. He does have some managerial. Just a little bit. He spent some time. He would have been perfect for the Union. He spent some time coaching the Argentinian youth national teams. He ran the 2023 FIFA U20 World Cup team. That did reach the round of 16 and the 2024 Summer Olympics. So he does have some experience with it. Obviously, this comes after the sacking or the parting of ways of Gerardo Tata Martino. But if we're being honest here, why? Like, just what is the exact point of hiring Javier Mascherano besides the fact that he's best buds with their star player Lionel Messi? You are in a spot.
I think you hit it right there.
Where you're. I mean, yeah, but is that a recipe for success? You are this close of winning a championship. You know, it's unfortunate. You fell to Atlanta United. Atlanta was hot. They caught you at the wrong time. It is what it is. But like, if Messi leaves MLS and doesn't win a championship, I mean, like, that's going to put a little bit of a damper on his legacy, I would feel. I mean, of course, the Eurosnobbs would be like, oh, it's just a crap league, which, by the way, Olivier Giroud did not score a goal in the MLS this year, but that's a side point. But this is just, to me, like, this is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous hiring.
Okay, there's lots of layers to this onion that we have to peel. So first things first.
It's already Thanksgiving.
Logistics. Let's talk logistics. And I know DJ, aka Mr. Sandman, you were asking, what are we getting you for Christmas? It's almost Black Friday. Here's what we're getting you. Nothing. Just kidding. Here's what we're getting you. Updates.
Wow, Renee.
No, we're getting you updates. We'll have to circle back for some gifts. But how about this for a holiday deal for Javier Mascherano? This is what he's getting for the holidays, a 3-year contract. So inked the pen there, or pen to paper there. And Messi was consulted about who they wanted to hire for the job. And he was asked, what's important to you? What do you think it's important to get the best out of the roster, out of the 11? And so Messi did share about, he wanted someone that had the familiarity with the other stars as an aspect that would be a benefit to all this. So it was all about making sure that not only was he comfortable with the new manager, but that the rest of the team was, because Mascherano does also have that connection of when he was with Barcelona, he, of course, played alongside Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets, Luis Suarez. So you had a chance to be teammates with these guys. Now you have a chance to coach them. He is also someone that has records as a player. Messi has broken some of his records, but he did have some like all-time leading records. And so I actually, unpopular opinion, I kind of like it. I just think that what's weird about this is you are clearly catering to your superstars, but who else are you supposed to cater to, guys? And so when they were asking about why they brought in Javier Mascherano for this role, the Inter Miami managing owner Jorge Mas was saying, the job requires somebody with experience to be able to maximize our unique collection of talent, from our global superstars to our homegrown players to our young international players and everything in between. Is this guy going to be able to help the young players? I think he's a leader. I think he's a veteran. But it always is difficult when players become coaches, and I can say this from experience, because you have to be able to empathize with every player in their journey. So it's easy to relate to someone like Messi and Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets and Luis Suarez. You were teammates with them. You probably are a little bit more aligned in your thinking. It becomes difficult. What happens when you have that struggling 19-year-old, or you bring in a new player and you have to help them get on board? So I think it's going to be more on the staff around him that's important to help bridge the gap. And I do feel like in this day and age, cater to your stars. He is someone, and not to mention, who knows what other doors this opens. You know, it's like when Beckham got involved with Inter Miami. That's a move to bring in other superstars. It's an obvious move. It's not about team management. It's about you are someone that's going to attract other names. It's Magic Johnson with all the teams he's involved with. When you bring in a winner, a champion, a veteran, they automatically get the respect versus you bringing in, I hate to say this, like some 60-plus-year-old guy that's hasn't maybe played 30 years ago, but like he's just been a coach now versus a guy that gets it. Like he's young, he understands it. And we're seeing more young coaches coming into pro sports, especially coming straight out of playing. So I do think, to be honest, it's obvious what this move is for or who this move is for, but I kind of think it makes sense for this group. Like you look at even someone like Messi, who's going to best be able to work with Messi? A friend, a colleague versus somebody that he doesn't need a coach. He needs someone to help manage.
Yes.
So I know you don't like it, JP, but I actually think it kind of logistically makes sense. And I would have loved Jim Curtin to have gotten hired, but hey, they had to go internal with who they knew was going to best connect with their superstars. And sorry, Mrs. Sandman, we will get you a gift. We will get gifts for everybody. Don't be devastated.
I'm on the side of I'm on your side, Renee, on this. I actually like it. I think it's a great thing. You're bringing in a young guy who understands the game now. He played not too long ago, so he understands the how fast paced it is now. The changes, everything. He gets that. Not only that, but he's played with these guys on this team already. He has that comfort level with them. They, vice versa, have that comfort level with him. So he's going to bring another level to these guys that they don't have right now at Miami.
Right.
He's gonna bring in a different perspective that's gonna help these younger guys, like a veteran, help them develop. And if he develops and helps these older guys like Messi and Suarez and all them, they are gonna in turn be able to help the younger guys on that squad. Sure. And just like you said, the same thing, echoing exactly what you said. He's younger. He's exciting, and you're trying to build a brand here in the MLS. And bringing in a guy like him is going to attract bigger fish. And if you bring in those bigger fish, you're going to build this. You're going to build the MLS into something that we all hopefully see as this big league that we would like to get it to. And I'm totally down with the move. I think it's spot on. I'm excited to see it. I hope they're not that good, obviously, because this is a Union show and we want to see the Union succeed over the Inter Miami. But still, I think it's a good move for them.
And one thing I will point out, I've always said, when Miami became a team, they're in a literal hotbed of young talent because it's so much diversity. You have kids from so many different countries and backgrounds that they needed to take advantage of that. Now, obviously, like Miami's thinking past this year, next year now, past 2025, past 2026, because they've always talked about this. I've heard Beckham and Moss talk about this youth academy. They've been trying to build this up, and they've had some players now, Krish Mosh and Robin Taylor as well, but they want to be a force for the next. They want to be the face of American soccer. It is clear as day. My whole point is, like, if you're trying to win right now, I would have gotten a manager who's a little bit more established. I thought Tata Martino was a great hire only because he's been around the world essentially. He had success in this league. He won an MLS Cup, and it just didn't work out, and it was unfortunate for him. But it should be interesting how this does play out. One thing for sure, though, Renee and Andrew, Miami's definitely going to be another tough challenge in 2025. They're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere.
I think to the point of experience, you're bringing in somebody that has a different type of experience because, as you mentioned, Andrew, when you look at what you're going to get from a guy like Javier, who's played at the highest level, and very recently, he retired officially just 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It hasn't been that long, so he understands that he probably is someone that actually can, like, in terms of practice, can show you things, still has a little bit, and I can empathize with someone that kind of did it myself. Like, when I started coaching right after playing, I still was able to relate with players, even in teaching. Like, when you have the connection and you're still so young and you're also just a little bit more vibrant and upbeat versus, like, Tata and some of these other coaches, you're going to be able to connect with guys in a different way. And I remember when we spoke with Ali Bedoya here on the show, and he was saying how it was so difficult to talk to the homegrowns because they speak a whole different language. So how difficult do you think is it for a manager that is like multiple generations removed to try to connect with those young talent?
That's true.
So I do think from that sake, they might actually have a bit more quote unquote respect, connection. They probably, look up to him in some way and just will be more open to listening to him, and his word and what he says might carry more weight knowing he did it, knowing he accomplished it, knowing he's been there as a player very recently. So I think we're going to see, we are already seeing a lot of this. We're seeing it in the NFL. We're seeing it in other leagues. I think we're going to start to see a change in coaches where they're younger, they're more vibrant in like their quote unquote prime versus just getting the like coaches that need to be propped up on the bench because they're about 80 plus years old and they look like they're going to pass out, I'm going to say, at any moment. Like, I'd rather have the young coach that can be funny, be down to earth, dancing in the locker room, like
TikToks after
making some TikToks occasionally.
Someone who
a culture
can set
setter,
a culture.
correct. I think
All
we're
right,
getting
screw
more
it. I'm with your
culture
guys'
setting
vibe.
coaches.
I'm gonna feed off of Michael Wolfinger. Let's make Ali Bedoya the coach now.
Yeah,
I like it,
Let's do
actually.
it.
I think I actually was thinking that the other day. He'd probably be a great coach. I don't think he wants. He doesn't want to. He told us he doesn't want to coach.
He wants more front
allegedly.
office.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be involved. Is it?
He's got the business
That might have
degree now.
changed. We spoke to him like a year ago officially about it, but since then he's kind of like, he's a go with the flow guy.
Such a great coach.
He's a great coach.
Every time I watch those huddles before the games, like the union put on social media, I'm ready to run through a freaking wall. The guy's a motivator.
That's what you get from an Ali Bedoya. That's the same thing you're going to get from a Javier Mascherano. You're not going to get that from a Tata.
Yes.
You think he's making you want to run through a brick wall? Jim Curtin is like a tweener, but let's be honest, like there's a lot of coaches that are they're just very disconnected, I will say. Very disconnected is how I'll professionally put it.
All right, let's run through some of these other storylines. Let's go to up north in Vancouver, Canada.
Is that your Vancouver accent?
I don't know how they speak.
I don't know either.
So working so much with the Flyers
I gotta
team.
tell you, it's probably not like that.
I don't think it's that.
You're the accent guy.
Vancouver, you got to talk like this.
Yeah, like you.
It's all about being in Canada,
That sounds
Hey, let's go.
That sounds more like Michiganish, I feel like.
Vancouver
But I guess it is up
Canucks,
there. Oh, okay. Don't you know?
Don't you know it? Well, don't you know that the Vancouver Whitecaps parted ways with Vanni Sartini, the Italian manager?
Shucks.
This took everyone by surprise as Vancouver, they were in the playoffs 3 of the last 4 seasons and also made it to 3 straight Canadian championships. And he finished with a record of 57, 51, and 39. And if you've followed Vancouver since their initial year in the MLS, really haven't done anything. I mean, maybe like a handful of playoff experiences or playoff appearances. So this one definitely did come as a surprise. Now, I wanted to kind of steer us with the union because, remember, guys, if you listen to the press conference about the Jim firing, they did allude a little bit to the next manager. They would prefer someone with a little MLS experience. So that's why a lot of people got their juices flowing with Vanti. But I don't know. I'm curious why they let go of him. That's just, to me, like, if he brought success to your club, obviously Vancouver, kind of like Philly, they're not spending a boatload of money on players either. It seemed like it worked out. Maybe it was, friction in the front office, just like here.
Yeah, I think we're getting a little bit of a coaching carousel right now. That's a sign of teams not being complacent with. It's like the bar is raising for teams. You know, you have Vancouver, doesn't matter, they went to the playoffs, not good enough. And as you mentioned, they've had success getting to the postseason, but it's evident that that's not enough. And I think what the reality is, there's more pressure on teams now because of, and we've talked about this before, there's more eyeballs on the MLS. There's more teams that are bringing in major household names.
Yep.
And it's not the coach's fault if their front office isn't giving them the talent. You can make lemonade out of lemons, but you need some lemons to make that lemonade. That was like the dumbest thing ever, but I feel like it makes sense here.
Right,
you can only do so much. Like everyone says, like, make lemons out of lemonade. Or lemonade out of lemons. You need the lemons to even do that. And they don't have that. They don't have the pieces. So how are you going to compete with the LA Galaxy, Inter Miami, Orlando, these major teams if your front office isn't giving you the pieces? But I think, to your point, it's a sign that maybe some of these front offices are wanting their coaches to just be either yes men or figure it out, or it's like, that's not our problem. That's on you. It's your job to work with the team that you've got, and you're not doing good enough. So to see the news come out of Vancouver, to see the news come out also for NYCFC after they got bounced, to see that they also have parted ways with Nick Cushing. That was announced earlier today. So he's only been there since June of 2022.
Wow.
He was the interim head coach and then got the permanent role in November 2022. It is November 2024. So you want to talk about a quick hook. I mean, he helped them get to the playoffs back-to-back seasons. 2 of 3 seasons, I should say. They got the 2022 Eastern Conference final run. They've been a top team, obviously. Like, he's been there to help them win and still got the boot. it's not good enough. And this is the message I think that's going across the league. It's yesterday's price is not today's price. It's not good enough just to get to the playoffs or just to be a top team. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of these coaches actually now just have the revolving door of going to different teams. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ceiling to all these guys, you know, and the playoffs they need to get past the playoffs. That cannot just be your ceiling. And it's a copycat league. If you want success, you have to see what's going around in the league, what's working for the other clubs that are having all of this success. And, you know, if you can't get the job done in 2 years, to some owners and management, 2 years is a lot of time.
I know.
You know, and you want to do it now, and you're seeing all these other teams doing it now, and so, you know, it's the shelf life. It's not surprising.
Yeah.
I think my last thing on this before we move on, because we also just got St. Louis City has named Olaf Melberg as their head coach, so he's going to be moving in as the next head coach. 47, another younger guy that's coming in coaching. He's been bouncing around, getting promotions, getting opportunities. I do think that what we're also seeing is it's not just about the result, it's about how you get those results. So I feel like a team, I can't speak for NYC, well, I can speak a little bit more for them than Vancouver. Like 6th place, squeezing in, losing the Red Bulls, like the ups and downs of their season. Same thing with the Union. I think they're not in games enough. It's not close enough games. It's not down to the wire. You know, you're blowing leads. You're having disappointing losses. So I do think it's also there's merit to how your team is losing. What's the clubhouse like? What's the culture like? What are the guys? How, you know, are they like a Kai Wagner making comments? And again, NYCFC's had their own mess that they've had with fights and different things going on. You know, is there drama, or are you losing and you're just like, just right there, but just missing, versus drama, hot mess, turning into a little bit of dumpster fire, and we need to culturally reset.
Yeah, I mean, it also goes, I mean, from when I hear these stories, because we're talking about Vancouver, we're talking about NYCFC, we're talking about St. Louis.
Yeah.
All these clubs have not really spent a lot of money on their teams.
That's a common denominator.
It's unfortunate, and so like it does suck seeing some of these guys getting axed because, you know, they're trying to do their best with what they have to work with, and the results aren't there, and so they get the axe. I mean, for Nick Cushing, it's tough because he had to replace Ronnie Dyla. Like, Ronnie Dyla will never have to buy another beer in any NYCFC bar ever again. He won him the cup, and he did a really good job there, and it was a tough task to kind of take on. And if you look at NYCFC's roster the past couple of years, it has been very young. I mean, obviously besides Maxi Morales, but it has been very young, and that's just really, really tough to kind of get through. And they had some success this year, but like you said, I mean, if you're losing the first ever Hudson River Derby,
that's bad
in the playoffs, that definitely is tough. But we'll talk about those playoffs after we talk about some of our friends here. And that's right. And we're going to start off by talking about our friends over at Coors Light. That's right. Because like we talked about earlier, the holidays are here. And this is one of my favorite times to actually drink. Obviously, tomorrow is the biggest day of drinking. And then, of course, on Thursday, we'll have our friends. It's always great, right? Having friends together and family. And, of course, we'll have some football on. Man, I wonder if there's any soccer this year. We had some soccer a couple of years ago with the playoffs, but no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Man, we got Boxing Day Friday. That'd be fun. But, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to any type of viewing for any sporting event, Coors Light is always going to be my option because it's a nice, light, and refreshing, especially when you get that bad boy nice and freezing cold. There's just absolutely nothing better. And, of course, when the mountains turn blue, it is as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for that much smoother finish. And when you embrace that chilled mindset, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open that Coors Light. Coors Light is a mountain cold refreshment, crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. And right now, if you head on over to CoorsLight.com/PHLY Soccer, that's CoorsLight.com/PHLY Soccer, you can get delivered right to your front door with our friends at Instacart. You don't have to go to the beer store. It gets delivered right to your front door. That's right. So celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Shouts out to our friends over at Coors Light.
Yeah, and also shout out to our friends over at Rothman Orthopedics that are making sure that you can stay healthy, stay in the game, stay at the job, because thankfully Rothman Orthopedics has helped people like myself. I remember having to go to them many times, actually way too many times, and I'd like to admit, to go to physical therapy to keep me on the soccer field and basketball court. And with Rothman Orthopedic, if you've got achy joints or back pains or hands are cramping or anything that you're dealing with from head to toe, they have the trusted physicians that have decades of experience that can help provide you with some great treatment. And their mission, high quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research. They've got research leading to new treatments. They've got better outcomes that they're looking to get for you. And just with every single Rothman Orthopedic laser focused on their specialty, from your hip to your shoulder to your knees to your spine to your ankles, whatever it is, they have a team that is specialized in working on any body part. And they're also right in our backyard. So knowing that you have the convenience of Rothman Orthopedic, who has 200 plus fellowship trained physicians subspecializing in various areas, that they can provide you physical medicine and rehabilitation, orthopedic oncology, trauma and fracture care, x-rays, MRIs, orthotics and bracing, and much more. And on top of that, they have a wide range of locations, dozens throughout the communities of Pennsylvania and New Jersey alone, with 30 plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers. So with Rothman Orthopedics, you're going to get more than 50 years of care, of proven treatment, leading edge, cutting edge treatment at that, and knowing that they have been also participating in thousands of groundbreaking research and trials with the goal of advancing knowledge, developing treatments, and much, much more. So with Rothman Orthopedics, they can help you make sure that you can enjoy the day. Right now, this time of year, you want to be enjoying your food. You want to be enjoying, maybe you're playing some football in the backyard. Maybe you're doing a marathon. Maybe you're doing whatever you want to do. You don't want to do it with cracking knees and backs and spines and pain. So with Rothman Orthopedics, they are specialized in orthopedics and you. You can visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and to make an appointment today with our friends over at Rothman Orthopedics.
What's the jingle? Head, shoulders.
Head, shoulders. Not you not knowing the song.
Head, shoulders, knees and toes.
Knees and toes, and eyes and
ears and mouth and nose. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes.
We are family friendly, ladies and gentlemen, okay? We are
what's up, K-Red, Jose, Michael, BC,
Wait,
everybody?
K-Red's in here?
Happy
K-Red's in
Thanksgiving
here, yeah.
Eve.
Wait, first off, this is big. K-Red doesn't typically stop, and he's usually in all the shows.
I know. I just saw him earlier in our Philly show. Back in, he said he needs a distraction from work.
We're happy to help,
distraction and give you some jingles and some. It is Thanksgiving Eve.
It is.
That's a thing.
It is a thing.
It is now a thing.
You ready to talk some playoffs?
Let's do it.
Playoffs. All right, let's start off over in the West. Another upset. This actually is an upset.
This is a huge upset.
Seattle taking on LAFC, and they get the dub 2-1 out in Los Angeles. There, they not. Well, speaking of which, we may have another coaching vacancy out in LA as well.
I know.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Keep an eye on that one. But Seattle got the difference in the 109th minute this is a Sounders legend. If I think Seattle Sounders, I think of Jordan Morris. This guy's been here since he was a literal child. And he went to Europe, came back, and he's had the U.S. men's national team call-up. And he gets the 109th minute game winner. It was pretty cool to see. Seattle will punch their ticket into the Western Conference Finals. Shouts out to Seattle. It was a great little matchup that they had out there.
It was a great win. Definitely was not expecting that. I know a number of people, including BC, of course, were prepared for an LA Galaxy LAFC matchup. Not happening. Not the case.
Denied.
And so I think this, when you look at what's working for Seattle, they just have this really tough, and I know they talked about it after the game, they have this never quit mentality. It's in transition. It's staying compact. It's how they're defending. It's commitment on both sides of the ball as a team. So we talked about it earlier. Sometimes you can have a successful team if it's by committee. And I think Seattle is that group that just is like, you don't want to face them right now. They are playing carefree. They were not expected to win that game against LAFC. So they're just going out, just playing, having fun. And they had the right mentality, the right approach of, it's the ups and downs of the game. They're just going to grind through it. They're going to battle it out because the playoffs, as you just talked about with that late goal, anything can happen at any time. And so you have to be able to stick together as a team. And I feel like Seattle is one of those teams that keep an eye on right now because they are pretty scary going into the conference finals as a team that might, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to beat the LA Galaxy. But I also didn't have them beating LAFC. So,
well, one thing is for sure, guys, is that in Chester, if you survive a monsoon in Chester, Pennsylvania, you can punch your ticket into the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
There you go, guys. The other matchup, LA Galaxy, Minnesota United.
Ooh, goals.
A
Yeah, wow.
performance. What a shellacking that the Galaxy put on Minnesota United. You had braces from Peck, Jovic, and of course Pancel as well. What a performance. Watching that one, I mean, Minnesota had moments, but no, it was Galaxy from the start. Renee, you're right. I mean, I think right now Galaxy's on a crash course for the MLS Cup. Like, they're just playing really well. They have the star power. No, I mean, these players were not house. Maybe Puig, we obviously knew, but before like Peck and Jovic, like you didn't really know much about these guys, but you know about them now, and that's kind of the point. It was a great offseason for LA Galaxy, and that's kind of the point we keep driving home. And Greg Vanney's still a really good manager in this league.
Yeah, listen, when you have this matchup of Seattle, who's one of the top teams defensively across the league this season, and you're going up against LA Galaxy, who's been, I didn't even realize the exact total. That's now 15 goals in 3 playoff games for LA Galaxy. They are one of the best teams offensively, and they make it a shootout. They've got a number of players that can score. They are great at their ball movement, their attack, very, very clean, seamless, fluid attack. They attack in a number of ways. And so I think this matchup for Seattle LA Galaxy is going to be fun to watch for that exact reason. You've got a Seattle team that's really takes the ownership of how they're defending as a team, all 11, getting behind the ball, getting compact. You have an LA Galaxy team that wants to stretch you, wants to run at you. And so this should be a fun one. And I think that game against Minnesota showed in order to beat LA, you have to, outscore them. But you have to be able to stop their offense, because you score 2 goals in a playoff game, you're thinking you're winning that game or maybe going to PKs. But to score 2 goals, and there were like 5 goals scored in a matter of like 12 minutes between both sides, you cannot pause for a second. You can't have any letdowns. You can't defensively have any moments of getting caught flat, getting caught disorganized, because LA Galaxy will make you pay. And I think they showed that against Minnesota. They've been showing that all playoffs, this entire playoff run. And so it's going to be a matter of, can Seattle stop them consistently? All it takes is one, then they break through again and again and again. But personally, I do have a bias for John McCarthy, so I will always root for my guy, John. Happy for him and the whole the McCarthy family. But I am excited for this matchup. It should be a clash of a great offense and a really strong defense.
It's going to be a chess match because you have 2 really good managers. You have some very, very talented attacks in general. So it's going to be a really exciting Western Conference final. Let's run through the...
BC is adding in the chat. I just want to, BC is our LA expert. So I want to add in the nuggets there, because as you are reminding us, LA Galaxy is a team that finished 26th out of 29 teams last year. You're going from bottom of the table to being one of the best teams. You talk about the offseason that they had. It's paying dividends when you look at how great they're playing right now.
Take some notes, Phil.
Take some notes, Union. If they can go from 26th in last season to being a top team that has potential absolutely to win it all, this is encouraging, hopefully, for the Union, if you just go out and spend.
Yeah, and Galaxy might lose Peck, but I mean, listen, you might spend a little money, but it's definitely worth it. That's for sure. Let's just run through the East real quick. So Orlando and Atlanta down in Exploria. Orlando got the job done. This was one that, listen, it was one of those barn burners. If you were Orlando or an Atlanta fan, you have no nails today because you were biting them all the way through on Saturday. So Orlando did punch a ticket. And then like we talked about, we alluded to it earlier, of course, this is why Nick Cushing got fired, the first ever Hudson River Derby in the Eastern Conference. The Red Bulls will be the last ones laughing here. They got the win over North Jersey, a 2-1 victory. And I sometimes hate to be wrong. This is one of those moments. I hate to be wrong. I really something going on over there in Harrison, New Jersey right now.
Yeah.
Something going on over there. They got that magic, and it's going to be an interesting Eastern Conference final as Red Bull, first time since 2018, Orlando, first time ever in an Eastern Conference final. But that one, not as, on paper, not as entertaining as the West, but it still should be a good battle.
Yeah, it should be. Honestly, I am really surprised by both these teams. I mean, I expected Orlando to win, but I wasn't expecting how they wanted to just kind of bunker down. They score off a deflection off of a corner kick, or the goal lead is caused from the deflection off the corner kick. And they really bunkered down defensively. You know, Atlanta was knocking on the door, continuing to try to attack after they scored. I mean, they scored in the first half that Enrique finished. And from there on, Ramiro Enrique's goal was the difference. But that was it. So I do feel like for Orlando City, we've watched them throughout the course of the season. And I know Evan Weston from Orlando City, the play-by-play broadcaster, and different people have spoken to us about them and their progression throughout the course of the season. They're battle-tested. They dealt with offensive challenges. They've dealt with blowing leads. They've dealt with a lot throughout this course of the season of adversity, and I think it's paying off right now when you look at how they beat Atlanta. And then on the other side for Red Bull, another team that is playing with house money. They've got nothing to lose, no expectation. You're going up against an NYCFC team where at that point, it's tactics aside, you're trying to be the better New York team on that day, and they did just that. So I feel like anything is possible with the Red Bulls. When you have those sleeper, underestimated teams, those Cinderella teams that are continuing to find ways to win, the belief and confidence is high, which makes them very dangerous because, yet again, nobody expects them to beat Orlando City. But I'm gonna say the road ends. Like, I know we're gonna give official predictions, but I think the road has to end for Red Bulls. This magical run that reminds me, it's very similar to what the Mets just did with their run through the playoffs. I don't like the fact that there's so many similarities in the Major League Soccer playoffs that compared to the Major League Baseball playoffs, but that's weirdly a lot of similarities. But this one needs to end now. We're not going to have a New York LA final.
Bigger rivals.
I was just about to say, you don't want to see New York LA final. We just had it in baseball. Let's just keep it going, right?
Well, Orlando City could continue the excitement. Orlando Pride just won the NWSL championship, their first ever title.
I was going to surprise you with that at the end.
Okay, you know what? I'll be surprised. Let me wait.
Wait, all right. I want to get real quick because I do want to get on predictions here, and we will break this down further next week. But Emil Forsberg, signs on for the Red Bull. This is pretty much almost the same exact roster or squad as last year for the Red Bull. I don't know, guys. I'm not gonna explain further, but you guys use your imagination there. But let's get to it. All right, who are the two teams that will represent here in the MLS Cup final? We'll start with you, Frazier. What will the MLS Cup final be?
It's going to be New York and LA.
Oh God!
I know, but it is.
You stink.
That's what it's going to be.
Renee.
Yeah. I'm going to go Orlando, LA. I would be fine with. I just don't want to see the Red Bulls in the MLS Cup.
Nobody wants to see the Red Bulls in the MLS Cup final.
I'm actually fine with any of the other three teams, but I think Orlando City control the tempo, control first and second balls, be better in transition, and then for Seattle, they're going to have a lot of pressure on them defensively. But I don't think anybody can really slow down LA right now. So BC, I'm going with your squad, LA Galaxy, and going up against Orlando City for a MLS Cup matchup.
I have New York and LA as well.
What is up with you guys?
See?
I told you I'm not going to go away from this take. Listen, the moment the Red Bull defeated Columbus, that is what told me that they will get it done.
That was huge.
They play a style that is conducive for these playoffs. Emil Forsberg is a difference maker for them. Oh, by the way, we have yet to talk about this. But former Union goalkeeper Carlos Coronel is finally getting the flowers he deserves. He's a really good goalkeeper. And if I have to rejoice with one fact about the Red Bull going on this run, is that Carlos Coronel deserves this for sure. So that's the reason why. And then obviously the Galaxy, look, they've been the team of the season. You know, BC brought it up in the chat. There was a failure last year. They had a new plan going into this past all season, and it worked out. And dude, like, this is why I say, like, you do not need household names to be a contender in this league. Nobody knew who Peck was. Nobody knew who Push was. Nobody knew who Jovic was before they came in this league. But it's scouting and it's identifying that talent. And that's why they're at where they're at. That's why I think it's going to be the Galaxy. Oh, by the way, the MLS probably wants this matchup too. This is two original teams.
Yeah, and again, it is a New York. It is a New York LA matchup. And you mentioned Emil Forsberg obviously has been showing huge for them. This is a Red Bulls team that has been getting outpossessed in all their last 5 games in general. Doesn't matter. They're just sitting back, baiting you in, and then pouncing on you in transition. It is a scary Red Bulls team. It is a very scary. It's a good point you bring up beating the defending champs in Columbus, because once they beat the Crew, you're feeling it.
of course.
Anything is possible at that point. You beat one of the top teams across the league,
Everyone
and
wrote you
nobody
off.
had that. Right. And we're talking a convincing wins over the Crew. Like, yeah, it's a little scary right now, but I'm sticking by mine. I'm gonna stick by this. I don't know what you guys have in the
drop in the
in your
comments section,
final
guys.
predictions,
Give us your predictions here.
because it should be very, very interesting.
So before we get into some Thanksgiving fun stuff, Andrew, I know Renee doesn't know about this, but Orlando Pride, they won the NWSL final. Marta gets a championship before she rides off into the sunset.
That is so exciting. It was actually on. It was Saturday night, correct?
It was Saturday night.
Yeah, and I was out in my hometown seeing some friends, and they had it on at the bar, which I was very shocked
CBS?
about.
I love that. Yeah, it was on CBS.
But it was really cool, so I got to watch a couple minutes.
It's gonna be
of it.
another
It was really
show
nice.
this-
Yeah, and I've had a
off-season
chance to do a lot of Orlando games this season for them. Their team, from first week to winning the championship, best team across the league. Barbara Banda and Marta were incredible, and it was so fun to see Marta's moments. I mean, she was talking about how it took her
She's a
8
goat.
years before winning a title before, and like it's been 8 years now. It took her another 8 years to win an NWSL title now. One of the best soccer players ever, male or female, and her time is coming to an end. That's the reality. I don't know when. I wouldn't be surprised if she retires now after winning this NWSL title. She'd already retired from international play, so we're still waiting for the official like NWSL retirement announcement. But I'm so happy for them. And Seb Hines, their head coach, phenomenal head coach, becomes the first Black coach to win a title in the NWSL. You want to talk about bottom to top, as BC was mentioning with LA Galaxy. Orlando was one of the worst teams in the league last year, did not make the playoffs, and then went undefeated. The only reason they lost is they were resting players once they had already clinched the Shield in the
That's
first
crazy.
seed. And they honestly could have gone undefeated the entire season. You know, they were just from back to front, all the way through that team has been so talented. So happy. I'm so happy for them. And the Washington Spirit had a lot of injuries. They have
It'll be
a lot
fun
of
next
youth.
year.
So I think they're a team like Croy Bethune when she gets back, Annie Sullivan. They'll have Hal Hirschfeld, of course, Trinity Rodman, and
Big
Ule
fan.
Sarr. Like
Big fan.
they have a lot of young talent, but they had so many late injuries that I feel like it was one of those things where it's like, you know what?
Wait.
This is Orlando's year, and you guys will be back next year.
Lacey Santos? She's still-
Lacey Santos, but then she also dealt with some injuries. But she was able to play at the end. But they
Love
just
Lacey
have
Santos.
they have a lot of youth and a lot of talent that I think for the Washington Spirit, I wouldn't be surprised if they win next year. In the next 2 years, they're going to get at least a title. They should.
Well, until Philadelphia gets their act together, I guess I'm Washington all the way. Lacey Santos. Colorado Switchbacks also won. Shouts to Matt Real. He got himself a nice little. The Union didn't get a title, but he did. So that's a win in its own right. But speaking of which, we're gonna end the show today having a little Thanksgiving fun. We're in the holiday spirit, of course, as we all know. So we're gonna end today by discussing what are you most thankful for about your Philadelphia Union.
Oh gosh.
Should be interesting now. Play nice, guys. I know it's
I know.
it's not fun right now. But let's play nice. Let's try to think positively about this club, which I know it's dark right now. But Andrew Frazier, what are you most thankful for about the Philadelphia Union?
I am most thankful for the future.
Oh.
Interesting.
I'm excited for this youth. Kevin Sullivan, I'm excited to see where he's going to be next year, what that role is going to look like. I'm excited for fresh change. I think a lot of doors are going to open from this, and I think we're going to see success sooner rather than later.
Okay. Real quick before we get to Renee's there. If you
I tried
are-
to be nice.
If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Head on over to allphly.com if you're watching on TV, head on over to allphly.com to finish out the rest of the PHLY Union podcast. Renee, what are you most thankful about with the Philadelphia Union?
So I'm really thankful for the 2020 to 2022 stretch of
That's a good answer.
the memories of
This is
those.
2024. Just
No, literally. I'm very thankful for that stretch from 2020 to 2022 because it gave us Supporter Shield, MLS Cup. It gave us excitement. They did not obviously win any final hardware, but that was the peak of this era of Philadelphia Union soccer. And the reason I say I'm thankful for that time is because unlike you, Andrew, I think we are in for a little bit of a regression, some struggles. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I don't know how long that's going to take, but I don't anticipate it being quick because unless they're able to make a lot of drastic offseason moves, it's not happening next season. So I think the next couple seasons, we could unfortunately be in for some darker days. I won't say dark, but darker days.
All right.
So I'm thankful for the memories because it's time for a shakeup. It's a new era, new head coach. We don't know who it's going to be. Will it be Marlon LeBlanc? I know Ryan Richter's name was thrown out there. We've talked about Ali Bedoya. Will it be someone that we don't even know? So I'm thankful for that era of 2020 to 2022, for the Andre Blakes and Ali Bedoyas and the Aronson brothers and the end of their tenure and all the great names we got then, because I don't know when we're going to get that excitement again. I'm going to be optimistic about saying it might not happen for a little while, but I'm glad we've got the memories.
The COVID game in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then what made it
so
awesome
great.
was the following year you beat the exact same team in the same place with your full squad. That was pretty cool.
It was beautiful. It was a beautiful time for the Union. It was a great time.
It was. Kind of time what you kind of both kind of said. So I'm thankful for Jim.
I knew you were gonna say Jim. I should have put money on it.
I
literally.
I'll bet Parks right now.
I should have said it out loud before you even said anything, because honestly, I could feel you about to say Jim. Go ahead.
It's just, listen, I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I don't think we'll ever have a manager like Jim Curtin ever again. And it's not just like the on-field success, because obviously we had so much on-field success, but it's just like the beautiful person, and it was perfect for what you needed as a young MLS club with this sport that, let's be honest, doesn't have a lot of traction amongst the American sports fans. So it's important to have those kind of ambassadors of the sport. I talked about before, Jim was such an ambassador of the sport here in Philadelphia. He obviously, like, his connections with the players, you asked a lot of these players, you know, he had like an open door policy. Like, you needed anything, you can text him, you can call him. I think that was so progressive in his managing style. You know, I told you the story about picking up those fans after the Club Americas CCL loss. That loss sucked. You got ran off in Subaru Park, and he had it in his heart. He was like, listen, that's a long walk to Philly. Let me go pick them up. And so I'm just thankful that we had that. And Renee, going forward, and Andrew, going forward, like, that's a standard, right? Like, that's going to be the standard. Now, every manager is going to be compared to Jim Curtin. Same way the, you know, Eagles fans compare it to Andy Reid or Doug Peterson, or Sixers fans compare it to Billy Cunningham, or Flyers fans compare it to Laviolette or Shiro. Like, he is the golden standard of managing in the city. And I'm thankful that I was able to see it. I saw it all the way through.
It was a great time.
It's all my kids, it's all my grandkids.
Beautiful.
I love that. I know, Michael, in the chat, you're saying you're thankful for Andre Blake.
That was my second.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that too.
He's still here.
And Mrs. Sandman, you're saying you need a Union jersey. That would go definitely great with your Tyrese Maxey. Hezzy low kicks for sure.
Okay.
Love the swag, the fit coming together. But yeah, these are some great answers. I'm thankful for the moments, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next.
That's right. And I'm also thankful for you guys. You guys deal with my ass every day.
Look at this guy. Man. Like, who are you?
Get the Kleenex out, all right?
No, literally, he's just like, you're just a sap today. I love this.
This holiday spirit, feeling very jolly.
Thanksgiving Eve.
Yeah,
Thanksgiving Eve happiness, man.
It's pouring out of them.
All right, before we actually do start tearing up, that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys do hit that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed, not only for this show, but we have such great shows here at PHLY Sports that cover all the sports that you love here. Of course, we're also available on podcasts. You can find us PHLY Union Pod. Find us on Twitter, PHLY_Union as well. Andrew Frazier behind the glass. Renee Washington, as always, she's lovely. She's awesome. She's amazing. And of course, I'm JP Zapata, and we're telling you guys.
You're lovely. You're awesome. You're amazing.
Thank you, Renee.
You was kind. You was smart.
As always, guys, DOOP on.
Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.